From the one that's recording this show to the millions that are watching from around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to Twitter clients! Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to iPad 365, the show where we look at apps to keep your iPad aplay. We are going to take a definitive look at some Twitter clients. Maybe it's the first time that you're getting up on Twitter and you want to figure out which client you're going to use or whatnot. We're going to tell you in a minute here. First of all, I want to let you know, hey, iPad-365 is the website. Twitter handle is iPad365, and of course the email is iPad365show@gmail.com. We still have the contest going on where you can win yourself a Zag system like this one right here. It starts off with the Zag Spark. You can get yourself a Zag Folio, which has a Bluetooth keyboard and a case for your iPad, and then of course the Invisible Shield for your for the cover of your iPad to make it into a really powerful machine and make it a safe and scratch-proof machine too. Plus, you remember that code Geekazine will get you 20% off all non-keyboard and discounted items. You can use that code Geekazine anytime you want. Just go over to geekazine.com/Zag and that'll go there. But to enter the contest, go to geekazine.com. You'll see that orange bar on the bottom says enter to win. Click on that and, of course, enter there. You can also go to facebook.com/iPad365 and you can enter from there. So get this great package, over $200. And, of course, you have until next Wednesday, the 22nd, to enter in on that. So good luck. Okay, so you got Twitter. And you might not have used Twitter yet, and that's okay. And maybe you're starting to go, well, I need to get into Twitter. Or maybe your boss has said, you're now the social media person. You need to get on Twitter, and you need to figure out Twitter. And you're going, what do I do? Maybe you're just using your iPad, and you use one client, and you've loved that client for many years, but, you know, it kind of wanes on you, and you're going, do I really need to pay for this, or can I get a free version of this, or whatnot? There used to be a program called TweetDeck, and I still use it on the PC because it works perfectly on the PC and on the Mac. But when it comes to iPhone and iPad, that Twitter client doesn't hunt anymore. So I have to find an alternative client. And of course, Twitter didn't come out with a great client itself. And then Twitter ended up buying TweetDeck and then abolished TweetDeck basically for the iPad. So I was caught in a limbo. Which client do I use? And there were a couple out there. There was TweetBot and then there was HootSuite. Well, now we have 4 different options. Actually, we probably have more than 4, but we're only looking at 4 options here. The 4 options are Twitter's native client, known as Twitter. We have Twitterrific, which is another client. We have TweetBot, and then we have HootSuite. These are the 4 programs that we're going to look at and see which one is the one that's best for your iPad. I have all 4 loaded on my machine. You only need one. And one will be great. So we're going to start with the first one. And of course, the first one we're going to start with is the native Twitter client. There's a lot of cool things about this. The biggest thing is you can hook up more than one Twitter account to it. So basically, you can come in, you load it up, and you start with Run Profile. You put that in. You go to the settings. Hey, I want to add more profiles. As you can see, I've added all my Twitter handles out there. I got Geekazine, Dorkazine, Record a Podcast, Podcast Madness, Day in Tech History, and of course the iPad 365 show. To add an account, all I have to do is hit Add Account. I put in a username, I put in a password, it verifies it, and it goes from there. If I want to switch that, basically, this interface will take care of everything. So from Geekazine, I can look at my timeline, my mentions, my messages, my lists, my profiles, so on and so forth. Switch over to Dorkazine. I have my timelines, my mentions, my messages, my lists. Switch over to Record a Podcast. Podcast Madness, Day in Tech History, iPad 365, just like that. All at your fingertips. If you want to reply to somebody, all you have to do is click on that, hit the reply, hit the retweet button. You can star it. You can even mail the tweet or copy a link to the tweet. in Twitter, and of course send that out from there. So it's very easy to do. As you can see, I'm just clicking through all the references. It's a slide menu, which means that when you press on something, everything slides to one side, and you got to start sliding it back to get back to where you were. Once again, this is Twitter's native client. It's the newest version, absolutely free. You can download it at the App Store now. Next up, we have Twitterrific, and it's gonna be pretty much the same thing here. You start out with one account, of course, Geekazine. You add accounts by hitting the little plus button up on top. In this case, what it does is it'll actually flip over to the actual Twitter login page through Safari, and then of course you put in your email and your address and so on and so forth, and I'm sorry, your email and your Twitter profile and your password, and that gets you back here. And of course you can create all your accounts. Like for instance, as you can see, I have all the accounts here: Geekazine, Day in Tech History, Podcast Madness, Record a Podcast, Dorkazine, and iPad. I click on one and it'll take me to the next screen, which I can look at all my tweets, I can look at my mentions, I can look at the messages, and of course my favorites. Have a trends section on the bottom here. So let's say I'm not exactly sure what CBBUK is. So I look at that, and it's okay, CBBUK. Not really sure. UK kind of stands for London, so, or the UK. So I'm assuming it's something over in the UK. Anyway, I can find out what's trending and, of course, be part of the trend if I want to. Of course, I have all of my accounts in here. It's Twitterrific. I believe it's $4.99 in the App Store, and you can check it out now. All right, next up is TweetBot, and this is another application. It's $2.99 in the App Store. I had the application on my iPhone, and when I got my first iPad, I loaded up that same application. They never really put the two applications together, so you have to buy another instance of TweetBot and to get the iPad version. Otherwise, you have to suffer through the iPhone version, which means that the screen is portrait mode, and it just looks way too pixelated, especially on a Retina display. This one looks a heck of a lot better. It's easier to use because once you've set it up, if you've deleted out your Twitter accounts and put it back in, it remembers that stuff and it pulls that stuff back. So I didn't have to log in. I didn't have to refigure all my Twitter accounts. It just knew what to do and went from there. Of course, it also gives you a little tutorial on how to use it, which is great. This is pretty much the same way. You have your timeline, you have your mentions, your messages, your favorites. You have a settings area where you can display different things. You can add sounds or remove sounds, your font sizes, your navigation, if you want to stream it, or if you want to make it as static as possible, pin things to top, and a whole bunch of other different options, so it'll look a little bit different. Of course, to switch back and forth, all you have to do is hit on the gray bar on top. It brings down your accounts, and then you can manage the accounts, or you can go to, of course, which one. I went to Geekazine, and I've got some tweets here. I go to mentions, and there's the mentions right here. Messages, of course, I got to reauthorize for that to happen. One thing that I noticed, this is a Twitter client that will actually remember exactly where you were, and then it'll load tweets above it. Now, if it's been like 3 or 4 days and you have a few hundred tweets pile up on top of it, it'll automatically take you to the top. But if it's been like 2 hours and you go to look at it, it's going to remember exactly where you are, so you can actually scroll up and see what's been tweeted since. I kind of like that in some cases. In other cases, I don't. I just want to start from the beginning, and I'll scroll down. And if I want to load more tweets, I'll do it that way. But otherwise, this is a great application. Once again, it's $2.99. It's in the App Store, and it's called TweetBot. All right, the last application we'll talk about is called HootSuite. It's probably the closest to TweetDeck. If you love TweetDeck, HootSuite might be your option here. Of course, you can add accounts. You can only add so many accounts on the free version, but then you pay, and it's a monthly charge to actually have the HootSuite account Pro, and then you can actually add as many accounts as you want. You can also schedule tweets. You can also do a little bit more than the other applications do. But once again, it's also set up like TweetDeck was. So you have these columns, and as you swipe to the left and right, you can set up columns. You can set up the mentions. You can have a special column, like for instance, if I want to follow CBBUK, I can actually put that in there by simply going to Home, Edit, and Add. Of course, I've got SMB for Madison Social Media Breakfast, Storage Wars, because I'm a Storage Wars fan from A&E, and a couple other ones. So, like I said, the biggest downfall is the fact you have to pay a monthly fee for HootSuite to get more than 4 accounts put in there. But it'll also put in your Facebook account. It'll also put in your LinkedIn account. It'll also put in your Foursquare account. So you'll be able to collect more than just Twitter accounts onto this program, which I really like. But once again, it's that monthly fee that's kind of its downfall on that, I think. But you might use HootSuite and you might love HootSuite, especially with that scheduled tweet option. You might be setting that up like to no tomorrow. And that's this episode of iPad 365. What did you think? Which Twitter client do you use? Is there a Twitter client that I didn't talk about that you use a lot more, that you like a lot more? Let me know. You can Twitter me over at iPad 365. As you can see, I have 6 Twitter accounts. You can get a hold of me in many different ways. Of course, the email is ipad365show@gmail.com, ipad365show@gmail.com. Or go over to ipad-365.com, click on Contact, and then enter in from there. Many ways to get a hold of me, and I hope you do, because I want to hear from you. I want to know what apps you're using. I want to know what fills your iPad. I want you to send me screenshots of your iPad applications, your icons on your screen, maybe what you have for a background. Send it to me, and of course, I'll feature it on the show. All right, thanks a lot for watching. My name is Jeffrey Powers. We will be back once again on Friday when it will be another episode of iPad 365. And until then, have some fun with Twitter and follow me, iPad 365, on Twitter. And until then, you guys geek out. You should follow Graphite on Twitter at GraphiteINC.